Hey guys, welcome to lesson 5 of From Zero to Lighting Hero. In this lesson, we're going to talk about cables, and there's no better way to talk about cables than to talk about wiring and how we're going to distribute our data. 101 to begin this. So where we left off, we had a console and we had fixtures. But the only way to get all of them to talk is to run data lines, data cables between all of them. So I want to start with the very basics in this video, basic Dmx setup and how that works, and then show you some tips and tricks that you can use to make your life easier and just help the process along. So when we're starting with Dmx wiring, the most simple way to wire is a daisy chain. So as you can see here, you go from the console to the first fixture, from the first fixture to the second fixture, second to the third, third to the fourth, and the chain would continue if there were more fixtures, but or else it just stops at the fourth. This is, basically how Dmx works. It's not like computer networking where you have to plug every fixture with a home run to the console. They just have to chain through and get back to the console at some point. Now, the standard says you can't have more than 32 fixtures in a chain like this. But I don't like to go over 16 because it's kind of a vague specification, basically, because different fixtures suck different amounts of data power, per se. I'm sure there's a more technical explanation for it. But what I'm trying to say is this, is that there are some fixtures out there, one of which is a great fixture, the Color Connects Color Blaze 72. Great fixture. I use it all the time on shows. But I know for a fact that I've had multiple times where I have, 10 or 15 fixtures in a line. Those fixtures are most of them. And I start having data problems. And then if I isolate it, split up the data line that they're in, everything's cool. So I just want to put that out there and let you know that I really like to stick to 16 because I want to ensure for you that there's a reliable line of data to all your fixtures. And so only 15 or 16 in every daisy chain. So we can use the Dmx Splitter to make our life easier. So what is a Dmx Splitter? Well, it's kind of like a router in computer networking. I know when we were on the last slide, I said that Dmx wiring is not like computer networking, and it's not. But the fact that you have to, it's data, just like computer networking, and unlike audio, regular analog audio, you can't just use a Y cable. So don't use a Y cable. Instead, use a Dmx splitter, which is a box you can buy. There's one that I recommend by Chavez. It's an $120 unit, and there's a bunch of others in that price range that will split your data for you, 4 ways or so, some more, some less. And you buy this box, and you bring your data in, and it splits your data out. Very simple, very easy, not complicated at all. And then the other thing it does is it isolates for you. So if you, for example, have on this side of the split a bunch of fixtures there, and one of them starts going haywire, maybe it had a dip switch that somebody bumped or whatever. It goes haywire. It starts playing an auto program, and these guys play along with it. The data is going to shoot up the line, and the splitter is going to stop it. Your other fixtures will not start going nuts like that. Similarly, had a story once. I was talking to a lighting guy in another city who was on my local crew, and he told me that this local college where he does some freelance work for had gotten these cheap, really cheap LED bars, like the cheapest ones you can buy, which I don't advocate buying. And this is one of the reasons why. One day, they plugged them all in, fired up their console, which happened to be about a $10,000 console. And when they plugged these lights in, one of them, something blew inside, and voltage started shooting down the Dmx line. Now, they didn't have a splitter in place. It was just a small little thing, just a basic setup, maybe like 8 lights or something. So they didn't have a splitter. Voltage shoots down the line, straight into the console, fries the DMX card on the console. It goes out for a repair that I think ended up costing them a few $1,000 when you include all the freight and everything. Whereas, otherwise, they would have smoked a $120 splitter. So, you choose. But I want to share that with you. And then the other really great thing that a splitter is going to do for you is it just makes your life easier. So say, for example, say your drummer runs your DMX console because he's running it from his backing tracks like DMX is. And he's in the center of the stage, right? Drummers typically are, not always. Now, you've got 2 trees in the front corners of the stage. It would be easiest to simply run a cable from the drummer, we'll say he's here, to the first tree, and a cord from the drummer to the second tree. If you've got a DMX splitter, you can do that. And so there's going to be other times where you think about it, where if you've got stuff up in the air on a truss or whatever else, where it would just be easier to have a splitter in a line. And this is going to allow you to split the signal, and then you don't have to worry about, well, I'm going to come out of this fixture, come down off the truss, go up this tree, and around in circles, and then I'm at my fixture. You could just run a fresh line over there. It's also a really great tool if you've got a DMX splitter, you run into a DMX problem, maybe a bad cable, something else. We'll talk about DMX troubleshooting later down the line, but basically, if you got a bad cable, it can manifest itself somewhere else in the DMX chain, like completely on the other side of the room. It's crazy, but that's how it works. And so what you got to do is the easiest way to solve this problem is to take a fresh line out of your splitter and start at each fixture. Start at the first one, the second one, third one, and start isolating down to just, the first fixture, just the first 2, just the first 3, until the problem comes back, and then you've likely figured out where the bad cable was. You can replace the cable. If the problem goes away, you're good. If the problem doesn't go away, it's probably the fixture. So we'll talk about that later, but just want to let you know that it's, a helpful troubleshooting tool. They're really inexpensive. Makes your life easier wiring stuff. Same with if you've got a house system that you're wiring into your lighting system. You can very simply just go ahead and give them a fresh split. A DMX splitter also amplifies. This is important. Amplifies your signal. So, for example, if you, for some strange reason, which this has happened to me a few times, have to run DMX, a significant distance. Like the specification says with DMX cable, you should be able to run over 1,000 feet, I think it is. But I've had issues before over 500 feet with the number of fixtures in a line. And so I just went in the middle of that straight daisy chain, because it was a big straight long line of fixtures against an exterior wall. Literally just went right in the middle, put in that DMX splitter, and it just boosted that signal to get through the end. So that's another great thing it does. It's really great object to have in your toolbox. And then the last thing I want to talk about is 5 to 3 pin conversion. So sometimes you're going to have fixtures that are 3 pin only. Sometimes you're going to find fixtures that are 5 pin only. So what do? You have to buy adapters, right? And as you may know, or maybe not, DMX only uses 3 of the pins. That's why they can get away with 3-pin cables that look like microphone cables but are not. But then you might come across a fixture that only has 5 pins. And so if you've got fixtures that only have 3 pins and fixtures that only have 5-pin plugs, you're going to have to use an adapter somewhere. So you can buy these adapters very inexpensively. Or if you have a fixture like this in the picture, there it is. It's got 5 pins up here and 3 pins down there. And what you're able to do is you can go in your 5 and out your 3, or vice versa, in your 3 and out your 5. And it's completely kosher, completely good, not a problem at all. But what you can't do, again, is you can't use this as a Y cable. So you can't come in the 3 and then go out the 3 and then also go out the 5. Same as you can't go in the 5, go out the 5 and also out the 3. It's not a splitter. You can't use it to split your signal because you're going to have problems fast. It's a Y cable, and data really doesn't like that. So very important not to do that. But instead of having to hold on to little adapters, lose them, find them, all that, if you've got some fixtures that have both ports, maybe it will work in your layout that you'd be able to use that as an adapter. It's something I do a lot because it's just easy. So just wanted to throw that out there. And then I want to talk about Dmx Termination. Now this is a hot spot. You're going to find some people and some teachers, some salesmen you talk to, whoever, who say you must always terminate your Dmx. And then you're going to find people who say, I don't ever terminate Dmx. And so here's what I found. I've really studied this a lot. The specification and the science tells you should have to terminate, which is using a little 120 ohm resistor that's wired into a plug at the end of your fixture chain. Wherever you end, your fixture chain ends, put that terminator in there. But then there's all these people that say you don't need it. And I've honestly found the same thing. However, it's a really good thing to keep in your toolbox, because I've seen a couple times where you have a Dmx chain, might not even be a big rig, might be a small rig, and for some reason it's giving you problems. You're getting a flicker on some fixtures, or your data's dropping out at a certain point, or whatever. And what I know is that plugging in that terminator will solve the problem some of the time. If it's just, sometimes you get a problem that's kind of a fluke like that, plugging in that terminator solves the problem. So keep one around, buy one. You can get one for like $3 on Amazon. I'll link to them below, as I will the splitter. But I just want to share that with you. Just share with you guys that though it's not something I say you have to use every time, it's something I want you to just buy a $3 terminator, keep it in wherever you keep some tools or whatever with your rig, keep it in your glove box, whatever. And so that if a situation comes up where you've got a Dmx problem, isn't a cable, you can just plug that terminator in and it'll solve your problem. Sometimes if you're having, it's with data reflections, it's kind of complicated, so I don't totally understand the science behind it, but just keep one around. You never know when you might need it. And let's dive into the next lesson and talk more about how to wire up our stage lights. I'll see you there.